Discover top-rated stays loved by guests. Rated highest by real guests through authentic reviews. Vrbo. Book a vacation rental loved by guests.
Hi, I'm Todd Nathanson.
And I'm Lena Morgan.
And folks, you don't have to jump for joy, but you should. Because this is Song versus Song, and we are doing a very special mid-80s matchup. We were arguing about today Frankie Goes to Hollywood's Relax versus Tears for Fears' Shout. I'm sure I had a reason for this. Lena, what was I thinking when I did this one?
They sound like they're in conversation. There you go. That's the official, right? That's our bullshit term that we use. They sound like they're in conversation. You listen to them back to back and you think these songs feel like they coexist in a space, and they do.
Yes. We got Frankie Goes to Hollywood, one of the biggest acts of 1984, depending on what shore you're on. And Tears for Fears, one of the biggest acts of 1985. And to talk this over with us, we have a special guest in the studio today, Mr. Justin Lewis. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Justin Lewis. I'm in the UK. It's lovely to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
Thank you for dealing with this incredible time difference. You're, I think, 8-10 hours different from what?
I think it's 8 hours.
For me, at least. Yes. And
you are
you. Here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I got confused.
Oh, yeah, we're all over the place. And we are here today to promote this special thing right here. Yes. Justin Lewis, author of Into the Groove, the 1980s, the ultimate decade in music history. Really, Justin, the ultimate decade.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's an interesting subtitle. I should say the subtitle is not mine. Because you want some sales. But I suppose it's the first decade that I actually remember in full. I think it's fair to say. And I think, it really does cover my formative years, because I was 9 when the decade started. I was 19 when they finished. So, and the thing is, for reasons we'll get into, I'm sure, the British scene, the British music scene was quite centralized in those days. So it was quite small. It wasn't like the American scene at all. We had a small amount of TV, a small amount of radio. There was the music press, and that was pretty much it. We didn't have MTV, for instance, or anything like that. So my experience of that was trying to write a book that sort of takes all the different facets of the decade and wherever you lived in the world.
Britain is pretty central to the story of 80s music. The second British invasion and all that. You already had a bunch of music videos, so when music videos became the thing that everyone had to have, the British acts already had a huge leg up on MTV because they were already making them. And that changed, that certainly changed our decade here on these shores.
Yes, and actually, conversely, in the UK, we had this thing, because the big show on British TV for many years was this thing called Top of the Pops, which was every Thursday on BBC. And I mean, it was made by the Light Entertainment Department, who made variety shows rather than. So I suppose it was a bit like American Bandstand or Solid Gold, maybe a bit. But the thing with Top of the Pops was they started doing this thing because the British and American charts could not have been more different in 1980 and 81. They were completely different apart from.
It's insane. I've compared them, and your 1981 is so good, and ours is so bad.
It is. I'm afraid to say it's one of the few times that Britain has been ahead of America in terms of what interesting stuff has come along. The interesting stuff generally, America does seem to come up with things first, and then Britain does a copy of it. But in this case, it seemed to be the other way around. And there was, one thing that Top of the Pops did was it used to do this thing. Unfortunately, they always cut it out of the repeats now because the guy who was presenting it is a disgraced person.
There is if we know Top of the Pops on these shores, it's not for good reasons these days, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's not this same guy, though. It's not. This is the thing. It's somebody else. It's not the guy you're thinking of.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I'm afraid so. And the trouble is that we'll try and get off this in a minute. But anyway, the only reason I bring this up was because the American, they used to do this little segment for 10 minutes about once a month, where they would list like all the different records that were out in America that had done nothing in Britain. So there are records like, I mean, Don't Stop Believing by Journey is a classic one, which didn't do anything this side of the pond whatsoever.
I mean, that's as American as it gets. That's a Whopper with cheese right there.
Right, right. And it's only when I think either Sopranos and Lee or both of them post that it became an absolutely massive hit here. But that was the first time it did nothing the first time round. I think it got to number 60 or something.
Well,
so, yeah.
By the time of these things that we're talking about now, Relax and Shout, the Brits have basically taken over our airwaves. It's a big, huge thing, especially in '83 when you had like Duran Duran and Boy George all over the charts.
Yeah.
Now, I don't remember these songs coming up. I, learned these from 80s stations I would listen to in the 2000s. And to us, Frankie Goes to Hollywood is just this one song. Right. It's just like one goofy song that we kind of remember. Tears for Fears was a real ass band to us, though.
Yes.
And, it's curious to think why, but like there's a pretty obvious reason why. Frankie Goes to Hollywood may have just been too much for America, too much to go Hollywood. And I actually did some work on this for my main job on YouTube, where I looked into the Frankie Goes to Hollywood thing. How did it feel? You said you remembered the Frankie Goes to Hollywood experience when it was actually happening. What was that like?
Well, I mean, the funny thing is, because I was 13, I was at school, and until they announced one morning on a bit of background, BBC Radio 1 was the only national pop station at the time in Britain. We only had this one station. If you lived in London, it was a bit different, but most of the country just had this one station. And so and the way it happened was the breakfast morning DJ, who was this guy called Mike Reed, who was on TV quite a lot, did Saturday morning children's television. And he decided at the last minute, because he saw the sleeve of the record. And by this point, by the way, Radio 1 had played the record many, many times. They had played it, I think, 80 times or something like that. The record had been out for about 3 months. And it had been on top of the pots, and it was fine. And they played it like 20 times in the week before this decision was made. And Mike Reed suddenly said, and I wish the recording is not out there. You can't find a recording of this anywhere. But millions of people heard this. And he decided he just wasn't going to play the record, because he normally went through the charts on a Wednesday morning. And this one Wednesday morning, he decided he'd seen the sleeve, and he decided that suddenly he realized that the record was a bit near the record. Suddenly, yeah. But the thing was, until he did this, it hadn't really occurred to me that there was anything. I mean, I was quite a square 13-year-old, but even then, I was kind of thinking, well, and it's the last time that really that the BBC or any broadcasting organization really decided to ban the song, and it was already going to number one anyway. It would have been number one regardless, I think. But and the video, I think the video was a deliberate attempt to just do something that they couldn't possibly put on television. But the record, it was a bit silly banning it, because once you ban it, you're like, well, why have they banned it? And then you're going to listen much more closely to what they're actually singing about. And so I just think the BBC, I think it was very embarrassing for them. I mean, you can hear it all the time now on oldies radio. They play it all the time. It's on commercials and things. Nobody thinks twice about it now. But at the time, yeah, suddenly this was, and it went to number one for 5 weeks. It was in the charts for nearly the whole year. So it was, yeah, they couldn't get away from it, really.
Well, I sent you a list of things we could talk about, and you said that one was right. You picked that one, and I was looking at it. I was like, why did I put this in my list of ideas for arguments? And because, Relax is one of the gayer songs ever written, versus Tears for Fears, remarkably straight for a new wave synth pop band.
I guess.
I would say so. Am I wrong, Lena?
I don't know.
I did not get any gay vibes off of them.
I didn't look into it, I don't go and check every time.
Like, I know, but like Depeche Mode are all apparently straight guys, but they are pretty gay for a band, for their sound at least.
Todd, you're not allowed to say that.
Okay.
This is
Oh,
2026. You're in trouble.
I have eyes.
Okay.
But like I'm like thinking about it, and first off, why I picked these two songs together is because one, the choruses do feel like pretty similar things. They're both verbs. They are commanding you to do one specific thing. And also, they're both just so 80s in that special way where they don't actually sound like rock bands, even though they are like technically bands, but they are part of like this new kind of mode of production where you wouldn't really think of them as in the same way as like Journey or Bon Jovi or like general rock bands. They sound so digital. They sound so made in the studio in a way that didn't really exist before that decade, which is the ultimate decade.
The ultimate
history.
decade. The ultimate. Yeah. I think they're both kind of, they're like chants. I mean, Trevor Horn, who produced Relax, has described them as described Relax as almost a jingle, because they're like advertising slogans or something. And you can imagine, I think actually, it's funny because we're doing something called Song versus Song, and they're kind of almost not songs, really.
I was thinking the same thing.
I mean, they're kind of, what is truly remarkable about both of these records is that you forget while you're listening to them that there isn't a lot of song there. There's sort of like, there's kind of you're never far away from the chorus in either case. And they're sort of, and the trick is, I know that Shout was devised as this kind of mantra. I think Roland Orzabal was saying that he came up with this as a mantra, and he didn't even write the verse for ages. It was just a chorus that kept going, and it was a very long record. It's 6 minutes. Shout. I think they did a radio edit for America, but basically it's a 6-minute single.
Yeah, I think there's a edit for Relax also that cuts out most of it, because there's really not much to Relax. At least Shout has verses.
Yes, it does. Short verses.
But they do count as verses. You could point to that and say that's the verse.
Yeah.
Relax has, I would say, a bridge. One bridge.
Yes, it does. Have you heard the demo of Relax that's out there now?
I have heard the like live versions before they got big, before they signed their record deal. And it's a lot more Duran Duran-ish. Yes. It's a lot more funky.
Yeah.
And it has a lot more instrumentation on it that you can identify as like a rock band. Before Trevor Horn got his mitts all over it.
Yeah. Well, the first version they ever did of it, which I think was what they submitted as a demo, and they've just released the album in some ridiculous 7 CD set now. Full of remixes you'll never listen to again, and it's got there's a version on it where after about a minute and a half they just stop dead and go into a version of In Heaven from Eraserhead, and
that's right,
and that's what they do. That's what the original version of it, and you just think there is no way that would have sold 2 million copies in Britain if it had come out like that. You kind of understand why Trevor Horn kind of went, no, this is going to have to be different once we get in the studio, because it's about what record we're going to make with this. It's interesting that because he'd just done this record with Malcolm McLaren, Duck Rock, which you're probably familiar with, and
no, I'm
you're not familiar with
actually.
Duck Rock. Oh wow, you must check that out, because Duck Rock is kind of an adventure in dance music around the world. And Trevor Horn had been asked to make a Spandau Ballet record, and he decided to go off and do this mad adventure with Malcolm McLaren of going to New York to record like hip hop groups, but also going to Africa and going around the world basically with a tape recorder. And one of the experiments that they had with the Duck Rock album was to make this song called Buffalo Gals,
that one is familiar.
You know that, right? Okay,
yeah.
So Buffalo Gals, they did 2 versions of it. They did one of them which was like a sort of a hip hop version, and then on the other side of the record, they made this kind of hillbilly square dance version of it. And the reason I say all this is that when they came to make Relax, Trevor Horn said, I thought of the beat like it was a square dance, like you could do or a barn dance in Britain, like this idea that you'd have it was this a 4/4 beat that was just relentless, and you could just carry on like that. And that was his thought. And of course, that original version that's got In Heaven from Eraserhead on it, you can't really see that being a medley that would work on record, you know.
You know, we're a very loose, unstructured, badly designed podcast. We try to make it. We try to make it a point that we're supposed to start by taking sides in the song versus song.
Oh, okay.
We rarely do this, but we try.
Yes.
So here we go. Let's answer the question: which of these is the better song? Which of these, if you had to throw on something for 80s Night right now, which would you want to listen to? Let's start with Lena. Lena?
Yeah, Lena.
See, my honest answer is that I would take that original recording of them playing it live, just because I would want to put that up on like a giant screen, because at the end they pull a gun.
Yeah. Yes.
And that, see, I like that. I love that so much. And in a weird way, I kind of prefer that version.
Interesting. Yeah.
I mean, really appreciate it.
That was their first TV appearance. That was on a program called The Tube, which was a completely different type of show to Top of the Pops, because they wanted all the bands to perform live.
Yeah.
And so that's the film that Trevor Horn saw.
Yeah, I think what's kind of interesting to me is that, like, I watch something like that, and then I think, you know, at least in the United States, right? Like, there is this period of like assimilationist gays, you know, the proper ones who are like, we wear suits and we're normal. Don't think ill of us. We're normal, regular people. And like,
yeah,
here we have a man pulling a gun at the end. And I was like, these are the kind of homosexuals that I like. These are my people. You know, these are the ones I relate to. So, you know, like that immediately jumps at me. If we're picking the studio songs, the studio versions of these songs, I think I would probably give it to Tears for Fears, just because like we pointed out, there's more song there. And despite the fact that, yes, there is this sort of mantra repetition, there are all of these little details that happen that make it kind of different as you go throughout. Like if you listen to just the vocals, you can hear the different ways that they sort of perform the song.
Yes.
Even on a vocal level. And I think in that way, so if it's just the studio recordings, I would take Tears for Fears. But if I can take that original performance of Relax, I would take that, just because it's just like angry fucking gays. Really, like, I don't know what the fuck they were trying to say, but boy, they were saying it, and thank you.
Yes. I mean, that was an extraordinary thing, because they hadn't really been anything like that at that point. I mean, in 1983, Boy George was still kind of being reported by the press and TV with the idea that he was just dressing up, and he'd find a nice wife one of these days. I mean, they really were doing things like that. And so the idea that you had, you'd have a record like Relax, I mean, I think it genuinely did scare sort of things like Radio 1. I think they didn't know what to do with it at all, really. Particularly when it becomes a huge hit, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the power of the sort of popular version of it. But I just appreciate that, you know, if you pull a gun, it's like, that's the thing, you know, you're saying you can suck and chew this thing right here. You know what I mean? Like it's both very sexual in a phallic sense, but then also like, I think it is a little bit, I mean, I suppose it's violent, but I think mostly it's kind of like going on the offense, right? Like kind of taking a stand in a way that feels, you know, for a song that kind of in the States especially is mostly known as the Zoolander song. Like,
right.
You know, this song.
I wondered what the reputation of it was there, and why people will know about it there to the extent that they do.
I would have to say, like, there are people who were born like in the 90s and after, right? Would you say, Todd, that's kind of like they're thinking about Zoolander? They're thinking about assassinating the Prime Minister of Malaysia?
I feel like both these songs have kind of become 80s camp. Like, because if you grew up in the 90s, everything from the 80s is kind of a joke.
Right.
And especially for Shout and Relax, maybe not so much Shout, Tears for Fears is interesting because they kind of became assimilated into the alternative scene, which not every new wave act got to do. New Order and Depeche Mode got to do it, but a lot of the other ones just became like the goofy synth pop era of the early 80s.
Well, one thing that's interesting about both those records is they both began their sort of rise to popularity on nighttime radio, sort of, which was when, because basically daytime radio was like, standard top 40 stuff. And then in the evenings, the DJs would talk to you like you were a human being, really. And and they would play, but just down to earth sort of people, really, and who you could relate to because they knew really the audience. And so that's how, Tears for Fears first got played on the late night show on BBC. Frankie Goes to Hollywood did some sessions for the BBC. Wham got their first play of late night radio on Radio 1. So that side of Radio 1 could have quite happily played Relax Forever and Shout, and nobody would have batted an eyelid. And the scene that Alida was just talking about then with the gun, that was on, as I say, it was on this program called The Tube, which was on the new Channel 4, which was a lot of which was aimed at youth. The young market, the 14 to 25s, who weren't really disturbed by this stuff at all. They were kind of wanted something different. And so that was on at 6 o'clock in the evening on Channel 4, so it wasn't like late night that was, and I don't think they got any complaints, or I don't remember any anyway.
I just remember having watched the video. It's the guy that they point the gun at does not like it.
No, that's true.
So, I think that was really the only thing I had to go on. Because, as we kind of pointed out earlier, Todd had almost missed the 80s altogether. And I was born in 80, but being born in 1980 doesn't mean that you really understood the cultural significance of the decade.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
The reason that I didn't know what Relax was about is because that song I definitely heard on the radio as a child. And it just slotted into my child brain. So I never thought about it lyrically. It was just a sound. You know what I mean? It's like hearing laughter for the first time. You know what I mean? To me, it's the same thing. Shout was the same. Also, I never really thought about the lyrics because it was just on a mixtape that my dad had made. And so I remember listening to that. But I never thought what is this song about? And for a very long time, I just never thought about those songs as songs with meaning, where I was like, let me dig in deeper. They were just background radiation of my youth.
Are they both songs about release, though? That's what I wonder about. I've seen Roland from Tears for Fears talk about the fact that Shout has also got a political dimension to it.
It does. It's meant to, and then there's something in the lyrics there, but I think also they had taken an interest in the same thing that John Lennon had, right? Like that primal scream.
Yes, Arthur Yanov, yeah.
Which
the book,
which is not surprising. If you look, the hottest take I'm going to have in this whole podcast. I think it's pretty established that they're John and Paul fans because "Sowing the Seeds of Love" is just a Beatles song. But I'm going to tell you, my hot take is I don't like that song.
You don't like Seeds of Love?
I don't like Sowing the Seeds of Love. That's again, someone is going to get mad. You're right to be mad. I don't like that song. I do not like it. I find it very obnoxious. I saw Paul McCartney get interviewed about it, and you could see that he was trying to play it off like he was flattered. Paul McCartney is very he's the ultimate history rewriter. And you could see in real time that he was trying to pretend that he wasn't mad, but he was mad.
You can't be a Beatle and get mad that people are copying you. I'm sorry. Well,
they even made a music video where you could kind of tell that one of them was meant to be. I don't know. I was like, who is supposed to be who? Anyway, that song is, I don't know. I just think it's a bad parody of a Beatles song. There you go. There's my hot take of the episode. Sowing the Seeds of Love is not good.
It's got a lot of I Am the Walrus in it, isn't it? That seems to be the one, but
it's meant to be that. That's sort of it's a post Brian Epstein era, right? It's it could be Magical Mystery Tour era, it could be a little bit of the Sgt. Pepper's era, but it's right around there.
There's a lot of Thatcher in that song as well. I think they wrote it after the 87 election. She got in for a third time. I think that's when they wrote that.
Yes, I just wish there were more British songs about Margaret Thatcher. I mean, listen, it's understandable, you know. I mean, like, I'm sure, you know, if you, I'm like, what do you think if you sat down and did like a competition? Are there more American songs about Reagan or British songs about Thatcher?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I feel
There's
like
probably quite a lot of British songs about Reagan, actually.
Oh, that's a fair point,
thinking
too.
about it. I don't think it works the other way. I don't think there are many American songs about Thatcher.
no. I feel like most Americans wouldn't have even known who Thatcher was in the 80s. Like,
Yeah. Oh God. Right.
like
right.
before the internet and all that.
They could have made her a villain here very easily. Just be like, she doesn't like chocolate and ice cream. She would have been instantly hated in the States. Can you imagine?
By the way, with Relax, I don't know. I'm not a big follower of the show, but what's the legacy of the episode of Friends where they've got the T-shirt with Frankie Say Relax on it? Now, is this a thing that is still known about in the States? Because it's still a thing here that people talk about that.
Frankie Says Relax is probably their biggest legacy here, the shirt.
The T-shirt. Yeah.
People will vaguely remember that people wore the Frankie Says Relax shirts. If they are, you know, aware of stuff from the 80s, that's their big legacy. You know, I made a joke in the episode I did about it, that what Relax is about is really obvious. But quite frankly, I think a lot of people didn't know what Relax was about gay sex. I think a lot of people didn't know that just because a lot of things just kind of become gooey 80s nonsense. Like what is The Reflex by Duran Duran about? Nothing. And that's just kind of what people kind of assume everything is about. I get to blow people's minds all the time. It's like, did you know Sledgehammer is about his penis? And it's like, it's so obvious, but like no one thinks about it.
No, in fact, Sledgehammer, the only reason with that was that when that first came out, the very first time I ever heard it, there was a brilliant DJ on nighttime radio in this country called Annie Nightingale. And she used to do this amazing request show on Sunday night. And she played that record for the first time I'd ever heard it. And as it faded out, she just whispered, "That's really quite a rude song, isn't it?" And, I mean, she continued to play it after that, but because she, would push the boundaries of what she would play. But she noticed straight away what it was about. And I'm not sure I would have realized otherwise for ages.
It's interesting because, I guess I don't know how obvious it is if you just listen to it or not. But like in America, we were so used to people being very direct. If you were going to be upset about something, right? Like people were pretty mad about like a Virgin. I mean, as it happens, The title of your book is Into the Groove, a song by everybody's favorite British singer Madonna.
And of course, not actually a single in America.
No, it was on the
Angels.
Desperately Seeking Susan soundtrack.
It was on the movie soundtrack. But yes, I feel like we might be getting ahead of ourselves here, but sidebar, Into the Groove is in my top 3 Madonna songs. Depending on where you land on the day, depends on where I'll put it, but like it could be anywhere from 1 to 3. Into the Groove, a great song. Anyway, yes, the point is that Madonna was very sensational in America because you couldn't mistake what she was saying for anything else. No,
that's right. Yes, and I think, she quickly became, and Prince actually as well. I mean, it's interesting that when they did that, are you aware of this? What was it called? The PMRC in the mid-'80s, where they had this list of 15 songs. It's interesting how Relax was not in that list, which given what the sensation it made in Britain, I was quite slightly surprised that didn't turn up in it. But obviously you've got, the Darling Nickies and I forget which Madonna was Like a Virgin on that list. I can't remember now.
It was Dress You Up.
Was it really?
Dress You Up in My Love. I mean, I guess you can read that. It's like it's certainly not Relax, but
no. Wow. Okay. Right. Interesting.
Yeah, not in my top 3. Not in my top 3.
If I can go back a little bit, just something someone said a while ago. Sowing the Seeds of Love is great. How dare you? How dare you? I've been seething in anger this entire time. I'm going to be straight up. Like, Tears for Fears is one of my favorite 80s bands. I love Tears for Fears. I love everything they've ever done, including some of the 90s stuff, which is not all that great. And, I'm just so angry. I'm so bad.
Does it make you feel any better if I say that I think that The Hurting, their first record, is an album that has never gotten the love that it deserves? That is a wildly underrated record.
Change absolutely is one of their very best. And in fact, it gets a little shout out on the last Harry Styles album.
Oh, that's right. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, my dark horse favorite track on that album is "Suffer the Children."
Yeah,
I love that track. But yeah, I literally just, a very popular thing on YouTube now is people reacting. That are younger people reacting to older albums that they've never heard. And I watched somebody react to The Hurting. Like they'd heard a little bit, they obviously heard like some of the bigger hits off of subsequent records, but they'd never heard anything off of The Hurting except for Mad World, and they'd never heard the Tears for Fears version of it. And it was interesting to watch them react so positively. And I was like, right, if more people listen to this record, perhaps they would know that like there was an album that kind of had already proved that they deserved to be like one of the biggest bands on the planet before Songs for the Big Chair.
I mean, that record didn't really have a profile in America, except weirdly for Los Angeles. For some reason, it sold very well in Los Angeles, but nowhere else.
That's because we had K-Rock back in the day, which was a very hit radio station for a while. It's certainly not one now, but it was a big tastemaker at the time. I don't know if Tears for Fears have like any like differences between their UK and US reception. I think they were just like a cool, really good band on both sides of the pond.
I sort of feel like I don't know a lot about them, really. It's weird because they were massive, but I think because what they did was they changed a lot in between the first and the second album, and
between the second and the third,
which they took forever on, of course, and actually, I think and the third album's a weird one. It has got my favorite Tears for Fears single on it, which is "Advice to the Young at Heart." But I like you will be old. I love that song. It didn't really do very well, but I really like that. And I like a lot of the singles. But actually, I think my favorite Tears for Fears records are the ones where they do keep it simple. Actually, I like, there's something about Mad World and Head Over Heels and I Believe and Shout, where they kind of have this, everybody wants to rule the world. I'm kind of glad we're not doing that one because I never need to hear it again. That one over here is like, that's by far the record that still gets played. It was in the charts recently over here. It got to like number 60, so it must have been in something recently. I
wonder what it would have been. I have to say, I mean,
it was Marty Supreme.
Oh, of course, that would make sense.
Right.
Didn't watch it, but I will say, I remember why that song had gotten really big the second time in America. It was because it was the theme song to the Dennis Miller Show.
Okay.
Was it really?
It was.
Yes. For
it
Dennis
was.
Miller
I remember that because like I had known the song before then, but like, I was exactly the right age to watch Dennis Miller, which is to say young and stupid. Exactly young enough to think that sort of mentality was like, oh, this Dennis Miller is so smart. He's the smartest man.
Was this a cover version or was this the
it was the version, I believe. I believe it was just the version.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. I was not allowed to listen to almost anything growing up. I have a very deprived childhood, but my dad was a big fan of Dennis Miller Live. That is where I first heard Everybody Wants to Rule the World, and that is why I am such a big Tears for Fears fan, entirely because of Dennis Miller. It is entirely predicated on Dennis Miller.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, and I said, I didn't even get to answer my own question, like which of these two songs do I prefer, Shout versus Relax? I think I will go with Shout just because I am such a big Tears for Fears fan, but it's really close to me because Shout is kind of really not my favorite of their singles.
This is also the big thing for me, right? Is that it's so like it's the first song of theirs that I heard, but I have never thought, wow, that's the song, right? Like when I think of Tears for Fears, I think head over heels, period, point blank. That's the song. Like if I had to pick one song of theirs, that's the one that I could listen to every day 100 times for the rest of my life and never get bored of it.
Well, for me, it's Everybody Wants to Rule the World, which I can absolutely listen to every day, and I may have. It is entirely possible. But it feels like Shout should be the top of brain song for Tears for Fears, because it's like their thesis statement. Like they are literally called Tears for Fears because they want you to shout and cry and get out all your fears, all that primal scream stuff. And that's what their name is about. That's what that song is about. It's about shouting and letting it all outing. Like, it's their thesis statement.
I mean, ironically, Britain's virtually the only place in the world where it didn't get to number one. Because, it got to like 4, I think. But it was lost in the Christmas rush because it was the Christmas of Band-Aid. And Last Christmas by Wham! And all those things, which were partly for charity, but also were really, really
That's
memorable.
insane that, like, the UK's 2 biggest Christmas songs came out in the same Christmas.
Well, they both went to the same charity. The Last Christmas, George Michael said, I want all the royalties from our song to go to Band-Aid as well. So it sold a million, and Band-Aid is, well, until Candle in the Wind, 1997, that favourite we still all play, Band-Aid was the biggest selling record in Britain ever.
Well, it's always interesting to break up George Michael, especially if you're talking about like T-shirts that say something that people always think of, right? Like he's the other person I think of as the 1980s of wearing a T-shirt with block text, right? Like he's the original like pro-life before pro-life became something, or choose life.
Wasn't pro-life.
Yeah. But the thing is that like like obviously it at least in America it's taken on a very different meaning, but like originally it meant something else entirely.
Yes.
And I always, it's weird because I kind of associate the two. I just choose life, and Frankie says relax. I'm like, these are the same
Frankie
thing.
Style. They were absolutely stealing their stuff.
Well, those two, 1984 was an extraordinary year in that 6 singles sold at least 1 million copies in Britain, which had never happened before, not even during the Beatles' top years. So there were 6 singles that did that, and 2 of them were by Frankie Goes to Hollywood. George Michael's Careless Whisper was one of the others. Stevie Wonder's worst ever single. Those were the things, So Tears for Fears.
Wait, what's Stevie Wonder's worst ever single?
I just called to say I love you.
Really?
Oh.
84, baby.
It's close. It's close. But do we count Ebony and Ivory? Because if we do, that's the worst. Nothing is, that is like, I am a diehard Paul McCartney fan. That song is irredeemable. It's terrible. I absolutely adore Stevie as well, but the problem is that I think what tends to happen is when we're getting off the point here, but when one massive name makes a record with another massive name, it rarely makes for a twice as good record. Yeah, no, you're right. I don't know. I just think that era is very interesting. That's Tug of War era, Paul. Like,
I said Shout's not really my favorite Tears for Fears song. For me, it's just like it's a little too monotonous and too martial, too thudding. And for that same kind of reason, Relax is not my favorite Frankie Goes to Hollywood song. For most Americans, that's the only Frankie Goes to Hollywood song they can name.
Yeah.
2 Tribes, I think, is the better of the two.
I think the video for 2 Tribes, because they made several videos of Relax, one of which they could air on MTV. The video of 2 Tribes ran into trouble in America, obviously, because it's Reagan fighting Chenyenko in a boxing ring, and that was considered a bit much, I think, for MTV at the time.
That's interesting. I don't, it might have been, but that wasn't a problem for Genesis a couple years later. When they were doing Land of Confusion, they did
the Spitting Image video.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Although I suppose that was, but they had these 2 guys dressed up as them. So I don't know if that was the thing. This was the summer that Reagan sort of did his "Oh, we start bombing Russia in 5 minutes" joke, just to check that the mics were working.
Oh man, knee slapper, nuclear holocaust. Great joke.
This is why, in some ways, Donald Trump didn't surprise us really, because we'd sort of been there before. But anyway, we'd with Reagan, although God, Anyway, yeah. I think funnily enough, with Relax, I think one of the things Trevor Horn does with when he's making records is that he tries to make sure that every time there's a chorus, he does something different with the arrangement. He does something in the background that's slightly different. And once you start noticing that, it's a brilliant trick, because it makes for a record like that to sustain itself for 4 minutes, let alone 12-inch version and things. But what's interesting about Relax is that they do it with the vocal as well. The chorus is very rarely sung in full in Relax. They do it at the beginning, they do it at the end, and for the rest of the record, you'll get bits and pieces of the chorus. It's as if he's arranged the vocal in such a way that you never get the chorus the same way twice. So that
he's edging you. Got it.
Yeah, well, make sure you relax.
I always do.
Yeah. Or you will shout. I should not have said that. It's too late.
Put that one out in the world, Paul. Let him know.
The real question is, which of these two songs will actually get you to do what they're telling you to do? Yes. I feel Relax is not a very relaxing song, but I feel like Shout would get me to shout, or would it? I don't know.
I don't know. I think
I've never shouted while listening to it. It's not like a really pumped up song. It's.
I think that listening to it, because Relax is not trying to make you relax, as in it's not like your cat is sat on your lap and it's saying relax. And then you try to sit up and then the cat says, "Don't do it." It's not, that's not the kind of relax that they're trying to get you to do. If you're asking me, do I think that I could hypnotically listen to Relax enough times that I would promptly go out and chew some gum, suck a dick, and then feel ready to go? I mean, it's not. Probably not the move I'm going for in 2026. However, I think that it must have been effective. It must have.
Well, there was a quarter-hour version of that song, which I did listen to again for the purposes of research for this.
That's going above and beyond, Justin. You didn't have to listen to 30 minutes of Relax.
That was the original 12-inch version of it. They put out a 12-inch which was 16 minutes long, and it was called the Sex Mix. And when you hear it, you just think, yeah, this really wasn't designed for listening to, was it? Really, I think that was very much the last thing on their minds, probably, when they were making it.
Well, I mean, every 12-inch is meant for a dance floor, not necessarily for headphones.
Yeah, that's true.
Have we talked in circles enough yet?
I think so. I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I will say there's one more thing I want to mention. Maybe it'll come up again when we do the questions. But one thing that I really appreciate about Tears for Fears is that, with the technology that was available to them, especially if you're looking at the first record, but I think even on the second and third, they were doing things that I think truly sounded to me very original. You know what I mean? I'm sure that if you listen to that stuff now, you're oh, well, they probably just hit a setting. It's no.
No, you didn't have settings then.
No. So I think the amount of work that goes, and I think you could say that about both, but I think that there's something very important about, I guess both songs, I think of Shout first for this, just that the sound of the decade as a whole, I think is so predicated on some of the sounds that Tears for Fears is making.
And it's funny because I remember them saying we did this and we just sounded so mechanical and not real, and that's why we changed everything we did to sound more organic on Seeds of Love.
And that's why it sucks.
Seeds of Love rules. For the record, I found a parody of Sowing the Seeds of Love on the internet once that was stealing the songs from John, Paul, and George. Oh, that's mean.
But accurate. Anyway, so
yes.
After we talk in circles for a while, we do these 4 questions, which in theory make sense out of the whole thing. It's never actually happened, but let's give it a try. The first is a question of history. One of these songs is going to just keep existing and the other one's going to vanish forever. For the culture, Justin, which song has to stay?
The thing is, from a British perspective, it would be ridiculous to get rid of Relax because you can't, it's impossible to overstate the song's importance in Britain. And the thing is, Tears for Fears have still got Everybody Wants to Rule the World and Mad World. So I think that would probably, although I've really enjoyed listening to Shout in preparation for this. And I've sort of forgotten that I'd really liked it. It sort of washed over me originally. But yeah, I think I'd say Relax, actually.
Well, you say this for both songs from the Big Share and Welcome to the Pleasure Dome. They are like the two great 3 single albums. And they are like, technically not 3 single albums, but like they have like 3 equally important singles that, fill out an album. And I always felt like 3 singles was the correct amount of singles. 3 great, equally good. It's Slippery When Wet, Joshua Tree, stuff like that. I feel like Relax still kind of towers over the rest of the Frankie catalog in a way that Shout does not. Like Tears for Fears would be certainly lesser without Shout, but they'd be there. They'd still be in the conversation. Whereas, as much as people love Power of Love and Two Tribes, I do not think Frankie Goes to Hollywood is anywhere in the conversation that they are now without Relax. It's got to be Relax.
See, we agree.
Yeah, we're all
in agreement here. I mean, War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Anyway, isn't that weird? Isn't it weird hearing them do a cover of War and Born to Run? I'm very odd. I mean, that album is very interesting. I happen to really enjoy listening to Welcome to the Pleasure Dome. I'll listen to 13, 14 minutes of that. Like, that's a weird track, but like, that's what I want.
Do you know, by the way, that the label that Trevor Horn started, ZTT, to make Frankie Goes to Hollywood records, the original plan was that they were going to have all the B-sides were going to be covers. So that's why Break Across the Mersey is on the B-side of Relax. That's why War is on the other side of Two Tribes. They were going to do it with all the acts. They were going to do a cover on the B-side. And this hit the buffers when they got to The Power of Love, and they wanted Frankie to cover, I believe I'm right in saying, Heroin by the Velvet Underground. And Holly Johnson said, no way. And I think that's that. So that idea was scuppered, but that was a plan that they had with each single that they were going to do that.
When I did not know that.
That's cool though. Sorry, go ahead.
When I saw Bruce Springsteen last month, he opened with War. So
right.
So he got it from Frankie. Also, sidebar, I can't believe we didn't talk about this. When Todd and I used to live on the same coast, we would do trivia every week. And our trivia name was Frankie Goes to, and then we would add something different every single time we played.
Yeah, Frankie Goes to Hoboken, Frankie Goes to Honolulu, Frankie Goes to Dollywood.
Yeah, but we tried to do as many H's as we could for a while, I feel like.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a lore drop for you.
There's an area of North London called Cricklewood, so there was Frankie Goes to Cricklewood. Yeah.
That's a good bit.
Anyway, all right. So question number 2. You can experience soup to nuts the entire creation of one and only one of these 2 songs, including the music video. Which is the one where you want to see how the sausage got made?
Well, I don't know if I'd want to see all of it, but Relax, it's got to be. I mean, there are 4 different videos for it. That's a lot of video. The recording sounds pretty interesting to me, just because like Trevor Horn is like an insane person, and he's doing the most on Relax. But that is the most Trevor Horn production that's ever been Trevor Horned.
I mean, he's been quite clear about the fact there was a team working with him on this. I mean, that he had 3 or 4 engineers and keyboard players and people who were making the track. And I mean, there was a joke going around that, Frankie Goes to Hollywood's real contribution to Relax was jumping in a swimming pool, which you can actually hear near the end of the track. That's the first thing they ever recorded, apparently. Now, that might be overstating it, but I also think you couldn't have that record without Frankie Goes to Hollywood, because they are, without them, it's nothing, is it? So you've still got to have that sort of input into the song. I think I'd honestly have to say Relax because I'd love to know how they did it. I would love to know. Like, it's like Good Vibrations. Even when you know all you know about the making of the song, you think, yeah, but I still don't really know how they did it.
Yeah, but for the record, if it were any other Tears for Fears song, I would probably pick Tears for Fears because I love Tears for Fears so much, and that would be very interesting to me. But like that, Shout, which I'm not so big on. I was like, Relax is doing so much that would probably be interesting to me.
I mean, I agree with this. I also think that like I feel like when Tears for Fears was sitting down, putting these songs together, coming up with what the sound was going to be, it was probably in the same way that a late night talk show writes comedy bits, right? Where they're all sitting at a table and they'll pitch a joke and then someone will go, that's funny. That's hilarious. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Put it in the script. You know what I mean? Like, that's interesting, but is it entertaining to watch? No. I don't know how entertained I would be by Tears for Fears. I mean, I'm sure it's fascinating. If I was an audio engineer, yes, I think I might pick them. But I think just on a general, as we are two idiots that like music sense, I think it's much more interesting to look into Frankie.
So if we knew anything about music, maybe we'd want to know how the dials get pulled.
Yeah. I would want to sit in front of the board for no reason. You know what I mean? Like that sounds fun to me. If I knew anything about sitting in front of a board for no reason.
All right. Next question.
Megan Thee Stallion. She's going to get up to a night of hot girl shit. And she's putting on a playlist to get ready for said night of hot girl shit. One and only one of these songs can be hot girl shit. How many times can I say hot girl shit? Which one of these songs is hot girl shit?
Man, Frankie's going to run the board here. Oh my God.
I mean, I think that's got to be a fact, right? Like, I don't even think it's close.
Yeah.
Boy,
yeah. Frankie is going, well, I don't know if to Hollywood, but he's going to town on these questions. Like, Frankie's running riot. Do we even need to discuss this any further? Relax.
I don't think so.
Shout is like not exactly a club banger.
No.
I'm not sure exactly how you're supposed to listen to it, honestly. I mean, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. That's a driving song. That's where you listen to that. But Shout, I've never really quite connected with, so I'm not sure. It's not very hot for girls, for hot girl shit.
Okay. All right. And now the fourth and final question, most important question we asked, not just for the podcast, but for all humankind. William Shatner, thespian, equestrian, singer, we're going to give it to him. He's going to do a William Shatner version of one and only one of these two songs. Dare we say that William Shatner should do Relax?
I think not. I think also, I think he would just have more fun with Shout because he'd really get to shout. He'd really get to, he'd get to shout. And I really feel like he should not touch Relax. I really don't. Also, Relax doesn't really have lyrics per se.
I would though quite like to hear William Shatner go ow ow ow. I would find that amusing. I think. I mean, I think
the opening of Relax is just like kind of like vowel sounds that I've never even like. Hey, give me that one time now. Like there's not much Shatner can do with that.
I mean, also, one thing I haven't really said about this is that you can find the lyrics online, but nobody's ever really quite certain if the lyrics of Relax are actually the lyrics of Relax. They kind of, because half of them are buried. I mean, there's supposedly a lyric on Two Tribes where they sing "Sock It to Me Biscuits," which I don't, which is officially there, but I'm not sure if that's what they're actually singing. Is that a joke?
Yeah, I think
might be a joke.
The lyric sites will tell you is like when you want to suck it, chew it, and I don't think that's actually the words. I don't think.
No, I'm not convinced that's actually the lyric, but it's who knows? I quite enjoy not knowing though. It's nice to have mysteries in the 21st century sometimes.
I'm confident that that's what they're saying.
I think it's when it's sock it to it. That's what I hear.
I don't agree at all. I think that that's what they're saying. There's the question that you can answer on Spotify. Tell us what you think the lyrics are, or what you thought the lyrics were as a child, perhaps. Those are always fun. All right. Well, At this point, it seems clear that Frankie Goes to Hollywood is winning this thing. But we have not had the listeners have their say, and they're smarter than us. So, Todd, what do the listeners think?
All right, let's read these suckers. All right, Brandon Hay writes, kind of surprised the matchup isn't Relax versus Tainted Love for Maximum Gay. Damn it, that would have been a really good matchup. I feel bad.
You should. I mean, generally, not even about this, but just in life.
All right. Tanner M writes, ironically, Shout makes me want to relax, and Relax makes me want to shout. I think those are both valid reactions.
Neat. That's really neat argument. Yeah.
No, it's stupid. No, it makes sense.
All right. Machine Gun Kelly writes, probably not that Machine Gun Kelly, but Machine Gun Kelly writes, to my anxiety-ridden ass, Relax sounds like a challenge. Like, what's next? Don't eat Wendy's at 2 a.m.? Don't tell me how to live Frankie Goes to Hollywood. It is very insistent that you relax.
I guess that's fair. And also assassinate the Prime Minister of Malaysia, which is in the original cut. It's on the 12-inch. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah. All right. Subspace Jet Witch writes, Relax walked so Unholy could stumble. We are not fans of Sam Smith in this. We're not fans of Sam Smith in this podcast, I guess.
Wait a minute. We're not haters. Let's not go too far. Unholy is okay. It is not Relax.
It's okay. I think we agree with that. Angela writes, as the person who requested Heated Rivalry, I feel the only correct choice is the song about gay sex and proper edging technique. Yes.
So shout.
Yeah, that person is won the bonus round and is making us watch the entirety of Heated Rivalry on HBO for the bonus episode this month.
The entire one season that's out, that's like 6 episodes. What an endurance.
It's still much more than we usually have to watch for the bonus episodes. But
that's like a British run of a show, that is. It's like 6 episodes.
Yeah, it must be very familiar to you, I'm sure. But in the streaming area, it's all British now. That's how it goes. We don't have long seasons anymore. It's not the 90s.
No, I guess not. No.
Yes. All right. Jake G writes, I would like to make you aware, if you aren't already, that in 2010 there was a song for the World Cup where the chorus to Shout was covered by James Corden with rap verses from Dizzy Rascal over a No Diggity sample. It reached #1 in the UK because we have no dignity. No dignity.
Forgotten about this. God, I had forgotten about that. Oh my God.
I forgot to go find this, but that sounds terrible. That sounds really awful.
It's very bad.
Yeah, I'd say I'm sorry that we sent James Corden back to you, but we're not sorry about that at all.
Yeah,
you can have him. Let him go back and make more Gavin and Stacey.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. You got on us for Trump. Well, you gave us James Corden, so
that's right.
Equally bad. Yes.
I'm not a fan, but that doesn't seem equal to me. But no, I take your point. That is a very bad cover version, that. Even if it was a charity.
All right. Sometimes Mike Talks writes, songs from the big chair. The one with the one song everyone thinks is the best ever, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. The actual best one ever, Head Over Heels, and Shout, which is also there. Ouch.
Did I write that comment?
You might have.
Who could say? I mean, I guess I could say I didn't do it, but it could have been me.
All right. Jane Doe writes, I'm voting Relax because I am a certified Tears for Fears hater. There are dozens of us. Dozens.
Certified? Is this something you actually sign up?
It does sound certifiable, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to certify this person as a hater by blocking them from our Patreon.
Wow. Don't do that. I love your money.
Yes, we need. Yeah. All right. Joannosaurus Rex writes, the real question is what's worse, the cover of Relax by Powerman 5000 or the cover of Shout by Disturbed?
Wow, I've not heard either of those.
I think the Powerman 5000 version is on the Zoolander soundtrack with the original. There were a lot of new metal versions of 80s Euro pop hits.
Right.
I don't know why, but I do distinctly remember that Disturbed Shout cover. And I want to say there was another band called Dope that my new metal cousin was into at the time that also did a version of Shout. I might be misremembering that, but that's what I remember. Really, Shout is kind of a metal song in structure, if not in sound. But
both of those songs, by the way, are both in Weird Al Yankovic polka medleys. They are both in.
I believe in the same one, actually. No, right? No, not in the same one, because I think they both end their respective medleys.
They do. I was listening to them earlier, and they do.
But wait, where do we land on the Hunger Games Catching Fire Lord version of Everybody Wants to Rule the World?
Everybody Rules the World is a perfect song as recorded. I don't think people should cover it. So take that, Harry Styles.
Are you aware what they were going to call it? I'm sure you know this, but you know what they were going to call Everybody Wants to Rule the World, and they realized that would be a terrible title. Do you know what they were going to? Everybody Wants to Go to War. That was originally going to be the title of it.
That is terrible. That is awful.
It is, isn't it?
Yes, once again, I want to be very clear. War, huh? What is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
All right. Mikey TWOL writes, Cat, little potat. He wants to know where his treats are at. Come on. He's meowing at you. Mikey did not explain any more about that, but every stupid song that you rewrite to sing to your animal, we approve of here at Song versus Song. We do that all the time.
Yes, I mean, like, very notable that I literally said that Relax could be a song about a cat being on your lap and telling you not to get up.
Emma Bowd writes, gotta respect Relax for being banned by the BBC in the 80s. Like, if you're pissing off a broadcaster that employed Jimmy Savile, then you're automatically awesome and on the right side of history. Apologies.
Sad but true. I mean, it's true, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What can I say?
Dork Mode writes, huh! And I don't know what that was supposed to be a reference to, because I'm pretty sure Frankie goes, huh, at least a couple times in Relax. Or that could be him shouting, letting it all outing. I don't know. But I felt like I needed to say it. And one last one from friend of the pod, Andrew Underberger. Andrew writes, anyway, I'm sure a lot of comments will be about Shout being the third best single on its album. And I would like to state, for the record, so is Relax.
Ooh.
Underberger with the hot takes here.
There he is.
Possibly right. You know, I like The Power of Love. I don't think it has quite the power of Relax.
Well, that was the Christmas single in Britain. That was a kind of... And
it also went to #1. That was the same year as it.
No one had done that for 20 years. The first 3 singles going to #1. And so, yeah, they I mean, this is the thing in Britain. It's like it's funny because they just couldn't sustain that. But after that, those first 3 singles to do that was unheard of then, really.
Yeah, it's a great 3 single albums, like I said. Anyway, those were all the comments.
I'm just suddenly imagining who do you think would have banned Relax? It would have been Tipper Gore, wouldn't it? We just missed it. Tipper Gore would have gotten rid of Relax.
Well, she missed it. We mentioned it earlier. The PMRC. She went for "Dress You Up" by Madonna for some reason.
I know, it's wild. It's very strange that it didn't make it. I mean, that's like the most Think of the Children shit I've ever heard in my life. Where are you? Where are you, Tipper?
All right. Well, those were the comments. We got one thing left. We got the results. Lena, Justin, who do you think won this and by how much? 60-30, 90-10, how much? Did I say 60-30, 60-40? That's so dumb. Math.
This is the listeners, right?
Yeah.
Is this we're judging what the listeners said? Oh God. I'm gonna say Relax, but I really don't know. And by how much I don't know. Relax 70-30.
Okay.
I think it'll be closer than that, but I also suspect it'll be Relax because of that's the song that people know from them, especially in America, which I think a lot of our voters come from there. And,
yes, I'm not thinking of America here, am I? I'm probably thinking of Britain.
In my mind, I think America is going to vote for Relax and not Shout, because Shout is third down the line on that particular Tears for Fears record, I think, in most people's estimations.
Yeah, and, Relax nearly killed the Prime Minister of Malaysia. And, for Americans of our age group, Zoolander looms very large in all our minds. So that's what my guess would have been, too. But here's the actual results. For a total of 429 to 434, a 5-vote difference, 50.3 to 49.7. Frankie went to Hollywood again. Yes, Relax pulled it out, but that was amazingly
Only
close.
Just.
Yeah, that is the closest one we ever had, except for the episode we just did last time, which was like 3 votes. That's 2 squeakers in a row. I don't know how that happened. People really love Shout. I did not realize. That was very close. Well, congratulations to Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Thank you, Justin Lewis, for coming into our show. Do a quick plug for yourself and your book again real quick.
Yeah, Into the Groove, it's coming out in America, North America on July, I think the 21st of July. It's on all the sites if you want to pre-order it, and it's had some nice reviews, so you can Google those. And also my other book, Don't Stop the Music, which came out a couple of years ago and is well worth looking at as well, which is an On This Day in History book about pop music. And thank you very much for asking me on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being on. Great guest. Glad to have you on. And we're going to do a quick plug for ourselves really quick. If you like us, we are on Patreon. We do a bonus episode every month. You guys vote on it, and we have to watch it. They're making me watch Heated Rivalry, I think, because they think that's funny. So that'll be fun. And if you don't want to donate to us, but you do want to, help out the world, we also going to link to some trans charities, as we always do, because, things could be better in the world. And if you want to contribute to that, you can. And is there anything else, Lena?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm trans and I live in America. Where should I move? Justin, how's the UK doing with trans people right now? Good?
Oh, God. Not great. Not great. You may be aware of this.
Maybe it's entirely possible. Anyway.
Yeah, consider Iceland or, Malaysia. Who knows? But, oh, that's right. We got one last thing, which is we got to put in the next episode. Lena, you ready?
Maybe.
All right. We will be doing Say So by Doja Cat versus Levitating by Dua Lipa.
Oh.
We're going back to the pandemic, baby.
Can't wait.
All right. Can't wait. All right. See you next time, everybody.
Bye.